Scott Smith, Science Coordinator, State Department of Ed. Familiar with most folks here. And I can give you a quick rundown on the process. So starting last year about this time, I gathered 15 educators, stakeholders, patrons, administrators, higher ed. And when I say stakeholders, that included the STEM fields and so forth. So I had 15 folks that were given the challenge to look at the old science standards that have been on the books roughly 20 years and decide on where we wanted to go for Idaho. And so we then followed some guidelines, such as the Frameworks of Science, produced by the National Academies. And that crew of 15 worked diligently for 4 different days, and we put together a set of standards that we could stand behind as a committee, and then presented them to the state board, where they're unanimously approved. And following that, they were then put into official language for rule reading with the legislation. And as was told by Scott, then they just kind of sat there because they felt it was a little rushed. And so we're going to take another year on it. And that's why we're now collecting more of the public's comments on science standards.
Great, thank you. So we'll start with you. If you'll state your name and where you're from, the stakeholder group, and we'll start with your comments.
Okay. Janet Avery, I'm the curriculum director for Jerome School District. I'm also a parent. I have 2 children that are in Jerome schools. And my comment right now, I know that a lot of work was put into writing the standards, and so I just wanted to see what the changes that have been made since the legislature put it on hold, because I had some teachers that were very excited about starting and aligning things to the standards that educators had put together. So
I could address that. Many districts around the state have started taking a look, if not adopting their own, because you can take standards and add to them as you want and at will, being a local control state. Higher ed, our colleges are using the next generation science standards for their upcoming teachers. So it's out there. As far as changes, that is yet to be determined based on public comment.
okay, great.
All right, go ahead and state your name. And
Valerie Van Leeuwen. I'm a teacher at Robert Stewart Middle School. I'm also Twin Falls School District Middle School Coordinator for my school. I worked on the state standards for writing them and spent a lot more than just the 4 days, sleepless nights and endless hours, emailing, calling on the phone, trying to get the very best for the students. I've been teaching 25 years now, 23 science, and I am really excited about the work that we did. I honestly think the philosophy behind it was that we really wanted to see educated students. I chose to live in Idaho. I would like my students educated so that they can use the resources wisely. Don't abuse them. Use them, but don't abuse them. They have to be able to make some skills, have skills in doing that. The standards as they're written were probably good 20 years ago, but now it consists of the things you can look up on your phone or on the internet, basic definitions, but no real practical applications like we need from our students today. We need to have those concepts not only for the students to become informed citizens and to protect the beautiful state of Idaho that we really do have, and the resources we have. I would like to see them used, not abused. I would like to see them become informed citizens and have the opportunity to apply what we're teaching in the classroom to what we're trying to teach them and use in their everyday lives, such as when it comes down to engineering practices. The first question I get right out of the mouth of the babes, and they're young, how are we going to use this? And the science standards from the Next Gen that they were modeled around actually give us those flat out, say, here are your applications. Here's how you can apply those. Here are your real life scenarios that apply. Now, we were not the masterminds. The standards were actually taken and modified for Idaho from Nobel laureates, from the best scientists in the world, from the best scientists in the United States, from some of the best engineers, from the best science teachers. It was not that we just grabbed and shoved and pushed. Every single standard was read, analyzed, discussed, labored over, decided on in small groups, and when we were done with each little area, say physical, life, or earth, on the middle school level, we got together, lined up down a big table, and said, okay, where is this introduced? Who has it? There. Who picks up next? So it's very, very organized. It's a nice flow from elementary all the way through high school. And then, obviously, talking to the colleges, that's the same thing they're using, the Next Gen. Even teaching the science teachers how to utilize those. 2 teachers came into our school. They were teaching social studies, but they had all had these science minors that were in there, and they were just practicing. They were assigned to teach science. They went back to the Next Gen standards and said, where does yours fit? How can you help me? And I said, well, let's go back and look. Well, the state standards don't support that application. The other ones did beautifully. And they went ahead and taught the lessons in social studies, which was cross-curricular, which really makes a huge, huge difference in our kids' lives. Oh, we heard that. We heard that in social studies. Oh, we wrote about it in English. Now we're doing it in science. Or we did in science. Hey, we know a little bit about this. This is how it goes, and this is why we're going to use it. So as far as what is being proposed, wow, it is an opportunity for all of us, for teachers and for students, for parents, for grandparents, for those who are real interested in seeing our children learn and learn to apply the things that happen to be with science. And I think that's our future here. It's nothing we can poo-hoo and put off. We need to start now. We need to start in kindergarten. We need to bring those educated population up. Use, don't abuse.
Great, thank you.
May I add to that?
Yes, go ahead, state your name.
Janet Avery again. I appreciate you sharing that journey that you guys went on, because I know when we first started looking and unpacking the Idaho core standards for English language arts and math, we did those same activities. And I know earlier this year I emailed Scott and said, okay, what changes, because I'm getting ready to do that work again with our teachers in our district. So I know all the hard work, and I think I appreciate the rigor that is now in our state standards that was not there when we first developed standards 10, 15 years ago. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Also, there's something else I need to add. Twin Falls School District, we're not the largest, but we're important down here on this end. And we're sitting here waiting for textbook adoption. We're ready to move on. And yet, we honestly can't take that step forward without our documents, because we are a data-driven, a standard-driven district. We need something to go on with.
Great, thank you. Are all of the rest of you okay to comment and testify? Okay. Ace? Oh, I'm gonna
Ace Marcellus, I'm the associate principal.
Let me switch.
I'm the associate principal at Robert Stewart Middle School. I was a science teacher for 17 years, helped write the original state standards all the way for science. It is time for them to be revamped and renewed. They served the purpose at that time. We were just starting the standards movement. We were just learning, making baby steps as to how to implement a standard curriculum, but they don't go far enough. And in our information world, the vast majority of them I can look up on Google in 30 seconds. That's not knowledge that our kids need now. They need to know how to apply that knowledge. They need to be able to find ways to solve problems, and that's what we all want of the next generation of kids coming up, is to be problem solvers and be able to fix things. If we're just asking them to regurgitate facts, we're never going to get them there. I've watched over the years new teachers coming in. I was very steeped in the standards. When they come in, the first thing from out of state especially, first thing they want is a copy of the Idaho State Standards. And they look at it and they're going, but what do we teach? I'm not sure where to go from here. And I have to answer, well, those are the state standards, and then we have district standards that we've implemented, that we've supplemented what was already in the state standards so that we make sure we cover all the state standards, but we also have this piece. And they're just amazed that we don't have something that's more uniform. We would have that uniformity with the new standards. When they come in, it provides that. I don't think any district is going to want to make very many modifications to the new ones because they are so complete. They are so rigorous. It's going to take us a while to be able to implement them because they are rigorous. But it's the direction that as a state we need to head, especially if we want an educated populace that's going to be problem solvers. I mean, that's what scientists do. They solve problems. And if we can teach our students to solve problems, it's going to be a better place.
Great, thank you.
You want me to
TJ?
switch?
Great.
Let's keep like using chairs.
I'll take the mic. Is this thing on? So my name is TJ Adams, and I am currently the tech coach for the Twin Falls School District. I have taught a whole class in the elementary setting. I've taught 6th grade science specifically for a number of years. And the short version of everything is I like them the way they are. I think they're more than adequate. They are better than what we have. And that's the short end of things. I've got lots of other ideas and comments that really don't pertain so much to the State Department and more to every other group that gets involved in this, whether it be legislature, parents, or whatever. And I'll share a few of those only in the sense that maybe that helps you form discussions and have ideas later, just some things that I've thought about. I've read every one of the middle school standards several times. I actually mapped out when they first were released as the almost done draft, mapped out current Idaho standards for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to the proposed, at that point, next-gen standards. Basically, everything that we're currently doing fits in to what is presented in the now final draft. There's no real change in that. Ace said quite well. It's easier to know what to teach, and I think the rigor has increased, and that's great. Regardless of what anybody thinks about the Common Core implementation, the idea, the purpose behind it for adding rigor, adding critical thinking, getting to the higher end of Bloom's and the depth of knowledge chart and those things, that happens with this. It's easier to have an understanding of the pathway to get there as a teacher coming in, how to go straight to the higher order thinking. For those that have some criticisms on some of the terminology, especially on some of the hot button issues like dealing with evolution, dealing with climate topics, I like the way that it says it right here in the middle school LS4-1. Towards the end of the standard, it says, under the assumption that the natural laws operate today as in the past. Scientists are always changing the way that they understand the world. And real true scientists and those that have a scientific mind understand that everything can change with new knowledge. If we have verifiable information, then we need to alter the way that we look at things. But until that point, the way that we currently understand radiocarbon dating, the way we currently understand every other element involved here, this is good evidence. One of the other things I think that could be done, and again, this is not an SDE thing, this is perhaps legislature if they want to reach out to the public. I understand that maybe they are concerned that teachers are going to go teach things that in a very Republican state they aren't in agreement with. I'm a registered Republican. I don't vote party line. I'm active in going to church on Sundays, and I have no issue with any of this stuff. I think that it can be taught, and it can be taught very well, and not cross over into those forbidden danger zones that everybody is so concerned about. I think that they could go out and talk to teachers and say, if you were to teach this standard, what would you do? What would you talk about? And get their honest opinion. Are there some that have a more liberal slant to things? Absolutely. Are there some that have a more conservative slant? Absolutely. That's the nature of life. But I think they're going to find that it's not as scary as what they think is going to happen, not as scary as what they hear in the news from other locations, from the one-off stories that make the news because they're sensational. I would be very happy if they went to go talk to people like Idaho Fish and Game and talk to the people who do this work, who are not in the educational field per se, and still can talk about Idaho and science and ecology and all of those things, and find out from them, what do you think about the topic of evolution, which is not stated as evolution in these standards. It's stated more as natural selection. There's clear evidence of that. We're not talking about primordial ooze into monkeys into humans. We're talking about other processes that are quite easily identifiable in nature. I think there's a lot of ways to look at these elements and get away from the fear. One of the other things I guess I would leave with whoever hears this beyond this room, or whoever gets suckered into transcribing this. I don't know if some poor sap has to do that. Scott's shaking his head. I think Scott's on that topic. Yeah, each person takes care of their own standards. Is that what happens? Good luck. I'm going to keep going. I think the biggest thing is to separate out these topics into small chunks. Don't talk about climate change. Talk about specific pieces of evidence. In the middle school standards specifically, which I revisited more pointedly today before coming, it gives many avenues to discuss these topics, some of which are going to be more controversial in this state and because of the beliefs of people in this state. But there are other avenues to talk about the exact same concepts that are already listed in the clarification statements that are provided in here. You don't have to teach primordial ooze into monkeys into humans. And those that do maybe are missing part of the point. If you're talking about that, you're missing the fact that there's not a ton of evidence in that regard. Do we have some idea? Absolutely. Is it guaranteed? Not like other topics in science are. We have so much more understanding of other elements. And the kids just need to have that presented. Here's what we do know. Here's what we don't know. And if we do that, we're not going to have any issues. I don't know, I think I'm done pontificating for now.
Great, thank you.